And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Yes, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of The Worn Down today. Delighted to be joined by my mate Danny. What's happening now, kid?
All good, all good.
For those that don't know, Danny used to play for United. He's got a couple of games under his belt, which we're going to talk about at United, but really known for his career at Sheffield United and at Watford, which is why I've got him on today to talk about how United got on at Watford, the start Watford have made, because that's unbelievable under Gracia, what you think is going on with the current United team, and then obviously Danny's doing a lot of work at the moment with MUTV, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the most exciting prospects coming through there. And as a striker, I think what we're going to talk about with Mason Greenwood is probably going to be pretty good. So how did you make of the game, or what did you make of the game at weekend?
You know what, I said before the game, because I covered it for MUTV, I said before the game that it was going to be close. You know, we started the season up and down. They started very strongly. And I said 2-1, not because I can predict, but purely just because I knew it was going to be close.
I said 2-2 actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't have the confidence we get it done.
Yeah, no, I just had the feeling, and the signs were promising for United from the Burnley game. And the first half against Tottenham, I know the second half they scored 3 and it makes us look like it was bad, but I thought the signs were promising. The energy levels were on the front foot, we were pressing, and we looked like we could create a chance. So obviously going into the Watford game, I thought we've got a chance here. First half we should have put it out of sight, we didn't, and I expected Watford to come out in the second half. Probably you look at Troy Deeney and the resurgence in the way he's come back this season. You have to look at him and think when he plays well and he drags them along, and they've got some quality players in there.
He's a real character, isn't he, Deeney? I think you really get that coming off the pitch,
yeah.
Let alone any interviews that you see with him. I really like that they're playing with 2 up front as well, and I'd love to see a hark back to people playing 2 up front, because it gives you a thing to worry about, and I think that Watford have give people something to worry about, which is why they was 4-0 at the start of the season, which is why there was a problem. I thought it was weak at set pieces. And I'm glad that came off, because I got the full 11. I was like, this is the team I'd play, and this is how I'll beat them. And we beat them via set pieces, that 11. So I'm like, check me out. I didn't think we'd win the game. Yeah. I still thought it'd be 2-2. But I was happy to see that when United do go for something really tactical like that, when there's a tactical need to play the likes of Fellaini, you're not picking as your first choice, I don't think. But Burnley, perfect game for him. Watford, perfect game for him. Not sure Wolves is going to be a perfect game for him, but give him his props against Watford. He did it in both boxes. And you can't ask for more than that, can you?
No, and I think the Burnley game, he impressed me. It's one of the most accomplished performances I've seen from him, because sometimes he goes on and he's employed in a very either go and do a certain job for a certain amount of minutes. And when I say that, I mean get in the box and either defend or
cause havoc.
Cause havoc. But he played centre mid with Matic. Matic just coming back into it, and I was impressed with the way that he just broke up play and just gave it simple. And he set off a lot of attacks, and he followed it on. He came in onto the Watford game the same. You could see how buzzing Jose and the staff were, Carrick and Kieran. The fact that their set piece he'd worked on in the week came off the small.
He mentioned it, didn't he, in the press conference afterwards, that they'd worked on that in training. But at the time that it went in, watching on TV, you've seen the camera cut to his celebration with Carrick and McKenna, and you go, that's them. That there was just something in the way they celebrated. You're like, he's just gone to them, you motherfuckers.
We've done it.
Which is good to see, because I think through pre-season, I don't think that there was any sort of real identity coming through, or you didn't even hear, did you, of Carrick and McKenna being mega involved. But that's changed over the last 2-3 weeks, and it's almost like they've gone under some sort of probation where they had to learn what Jose wanted, and now they've been given the keys. And I think we're seeing it. I think we saw it against Spurs.
Yeah, I think it's hard because pre-season was so mishmash of players. You didn't have all the players to pull together, so you're half trying to put your blueprint down and say what you want to do throughout the season. But it's to the players that aren't going to be in the squad.
Pogba's just off winning the World Cup. You've got Lukaku's not coming back, no training. I can't even imagine.
So I think from his point of view now, he's like, okay, my players are coming back. They get into that level of fitness where the sharpness is coming back. Now we can really work on something. And then obviously within coming back off the international break, they've had a bit of time to work at something. And when the difference is going to be so small, like it was against Watford, or was always going to be, to then go and work on a set piece, it come off and extend your lead in the way that it did, and it ultimately led to the what people would call a winning goal. You get joy from that because that's what you worked on in training.
Watford, they've gone through a right resurgence from when you was there. Can you even compare the club to what it is now?
I went back there last year with United, with MUTV, and covered the game. and just walking into the place, just totally alien. There's still certain people there. It's a great club, family club, like fantastic place for players who want to leave like I did and forge a career for yourself at a good level, but in a decent environment where you get men's football and around fans that aren't going to give you a hard time, win, lose or draw. And I think that's part and parcel of it. But it's a change place. I've been to the training ground once or twice.
There's a new gaffing at the training ground.
Yeah, well, it's the same place, but it was next door to Arsenal, so you're literally over a fence, through the bushes, and then you've got Arsenal.
Ball back, mate.
Yeah, honestly, mate. A few of my shooting practices have ended up in Thierry's path back in the day. But so they've just really invested heavily in it, and it's now established as a Premier League club. And it's funny because the way they run the club is very different to how most British clubs will be run, but they bring in different managers, they bring in all the players, but behind the scenes the structure they've got there is very strong, and they'll always do well. They've got promotion based on that, and they'll always can replace, say the scouting system will have 2 or 3 people for every position if somebody leaves. So it's a good place, and it's a good place for younger players like Will Hughes is to go and find a home and develop where maybe people might not have bought them in the past. Yeah,
I think that's the mega interesting thing, and you kind of touched on it there a little bit, when there's a time in young players' career, and we'll get onto the specifics in like Mason and maybe Burkhardt and some of the other lads in and around the club at the moment, but there comes a time, doesn't there, especially with under-23s football, which is a weird sort of intensity in under-23s.
Yeah.
There has to be... If you're 22, 23, still playing under 23s at United, you're in for trouble, aren't you? How old was you? You left 19?
I left when I was 21.
Was it 21?
Yeah, I made my debut at 18. I went on my first loan spell at 18.
Oh, that was it.
So I had 3 loan spells.
But twice at Watford, wasn't it?
Twice at Watford, once at Port Vale. Port Vale was brilliant. Port Vale was, I wasn't. That was the difference. But great part of my education at the time, if I remember it. But yeah, 3 loan spells, and then I decided to leave at 21. So Sir Alex offered me 3 years to stay. But I knew pretty much what you're saying there. How much game time am I going to get? I didn't want to be sat there at 23, 24.
Just before we went live, we was talking about the embarrassment of strikers that was in front of you. And at some point, you've got to be real and go, am I getting in front of Ruud van Nistelrooy? Am I getting in front of Dwight York and Andy Cole and Sheringham and Solskjaer? And they bought Forlan for decent money, and you're like...
And that's it. I mean, I looked at it every day, and you go through the youth ranks, and you're flying, you're playing up, you get in the reserves, you played up, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm back, it's like hit a brick wall, and you've got to really just work every single day, learn your craft. But even then, the difference was under 23 football wasn't under 23s; it was reserve team football.
So it was blokes. You play against Maine, and
you play against. But the thing is, first team players, if you didn't play on the weekend, you played in the reserves. So we'd sit there in graft to get in the team, but then Yorkie would play and Ollie would play and Teddy would play the odd game, and you'd think, all right, well, I know my place. So sometimes you'd sit on the bench, where now you're playing in the 23s no matter what, you're getting your game time, but it's not as intense as it used to be. And that's why I think the powers that be that have brought the structure together like that, they've made a massive mistake and they need to amend it. They tried, because it was 21s, they tried to make it 23s. It's the same thing.
The reason Scudamore, it was Richard Scudamore that brought it in, chief exec of the Premier League. He said because the average age of a youth player making his debut in the Premier League is 23 years of age. That's too late. For me, that's too late.
It is it's too late if they've got no experience. If all you've had is youth team football up until then, it's too late. If you look at Jesse, for argument's sake, he was a late developer. But even then, he had to go out and get men's football. There's no other place to learn.
He got it as a teenager.
He did, yeah.
Who would he go first?
He did Brighton, Birmingham first. Birmingham scored 4 on his debut. So Birmingham, Brighton,
I think it was 18,
Derby.
19 for that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been about 19.
Yeah, because he had quite a few. So I think if you're getting it around 18, 19 years of age, I think perfect. Fair. And whether it's just... It doesn't matter if you're on loan. Doesn't matter what your tag says on the back of your collar.
No,
like you're getting a first team football, aren't you?
Yeah.
The issue that I've got is that I think sometimes, especially at United, you ain't going to be 23 years old, never gone on loan, just played 23s football. What are you going to do when you step into that?
You know what? And I'm noticing it get bigger and bigger, the gap. Because I speak to a lot of young players. The money's given very early. Fine, I'm all for people earning as much money as they can, relative to what they're doing in the game. Mm-hmm. The struggle is what it does to a young player's mind. So all of a sudden you go from, you're 17, you're earning thousands a week. That's your norm. You know that as normal. You've got every facility in front of you. Then you get released at 20 for argument's sake, or you leave at 20. The places that you can go to and succeed are very limited if your mind's not in the right place, because you expect the environment to be the same everywhere.
And have they got a wage expectation that's just not realistic at a League One Championship team?
Part of it is but you become accustomed to it. So it's sort of not your fault. It's just the environment you're in. You're good enough. You should earn the money. So it's kind of not your fault. It's a bit of a chicken and egg.
There's also the capitalist culture of, if we don't pay this player that much,
somebody else will.
Them down the road, them up the M62,
100%.
They're absolutely gonna.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to. It's a lot of poker face going on, isn't there?
A hell of a lot of poker face. And honestly, I think it's great that lads earn the money, because your career can end very quickly. And I just think clubs have a responsibility, whatever club it may be, that the person walking into the building, when they leave the building at whatever age, for however many years, they should be in a better position than when they came into it. That's the duty that the club should have, and that's not just financially, that's educationally and everything. Because there's a lot of players now, and this is a grey area in football, that are leaving at 20, 21, 22 and just falling off a cliff because the gap is so big. So, I'll give you an example. I made my debut at 18, 47,000 give or take at Stadium of Light. Came on, first touch, header, Sorensen tipped it over the bar, and I remember stood there looking behind he went out for a corner, and all the United fans were behind it, and I was like, oh my God. Like the dream in my head. I played for Man United. I've stepped on the pitch, I'm looking around, I've got all the different players around me. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. The rest of the game, a few touches, passed me by. So I walk in the next morning, and this is the environment United was back then.
This was treble season?
Year after,
2000.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, right, I walk in next morning, and in my head it's like, that's 10 years worth of work that people don't see.
Whatever you had, however many minutes you had.
Yeah, for however many, but 10 years worth of work to then go into it and to then come in the next morning, it's like the biggest thing in my world. So I'm thinking, right, get out the car, I've got my wash bag as you do. You go in the training ground, and you're half thinking, this is the 18-year-old mind. I'm half thinking that people are going to be throwing party poppers and stuff, and the balloons
Welcome
are going to be
to
out.
Club,
You've made your
come and move your locker now.
Yeah. And I remember walking in, and the first person I saw was Giggsy, and Giggsy was like, morning, Webs. Just morning. You know what I mean? Like, not well done or anything. But that was it was an achievement it was a small milestone in my mind, or big in my mind at the time. But it was a case of, look, once you've done that, you chalk it off and you go again.
Yeah, you've got new goals.
Yeah, so as I continue, so I'm talking probably a couple of weeks later, give or take, I'm in the gym, Sir Alec doing a warm down after a Resi game, and the boss comes in and sees me. I'm thinking, he said, listen son, he said, you're going on loan. I said, okay, where am I going? I'm thinking, flipping it, where am I going, buzzing. He said, you're going to Port Vale, son, and at the time that's the equivalent of League One now, so Division 3. So semi-deflated, and because you're thinking, oh, could I do it? But anyway, buzzing, you're going to go and play men's football, do you know what I mean?
It's going to be Barcelona.
Yeah, your head's in a different place, isn't it? You think, well, even championship, give me a championship. So I went to Port Vale anyway, and I just followed off the back of a lad called Chris Killen, who was at City, and he just scored 9 in 9 for them on loan, and I've come to fill his boots. Ooh. So I'm thinking, yeah, a piece of cake.
Just do 10.
Yeah, I thought, I'll score goals, it's dead easy.
Well, you did absolutely bag for fun at youth level as well, didn't you, at United?
When I played up front, I just used to score for fun. I found it easy. So I went on loan. First session where we said, right, we're doing the stands. It was Brian Orton, the manager. He says, we're doing the stands. I said, what are the stands? Like, but anyway, you just keep your mouth shut and get on with it. And you basically at the stadium, you had to run up the stand, down through the way you buy the hot dogs, come back down and all the way round the whole stadium, and that was like one run. So I'm thinking, oh, this is different. This is not what I signed up for. But get on with it anyway. You've come from United and people are looking at you. Get on with it. And I've not come with it. I'm not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I'm thinking this is different.
Anyway, you're using different.
It was just different. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And then we got the furry yellow ball out because the pitches were waterlogged. In November, we got a furry yellow ball
Indoor
out.
5-side ball?
Yeah, and played like little 5-0 against the benches. Thought, right, okay, fair enough. Played a game the next day. I'm starting. I think we're playing Tranmere. And I'm thinking, right, play up front. Just give me the ball, I'll do what I do. And just give me the ball, I'll score. I got smashed for the first 45 minutes.
18-year-old Danny as well?
Yeah, 18. Shirt's massive, you know what I mean? And but we didn't really do many weights or anything back in the day either, so it wasn't like your body was conditioned. You just had to get on with it and have whatever was inside you fought with that. So I remember I got smashed, because obviously you come with he's come from Man United, all right, I'm not going to let him embarrass me.
Check this out.
Oh mate, I got smashed for 45 minutes, and at half time I remember sat there thinking, wow, just wow. And then came out second half, next thing my numbers come up and I'm off. I thought, that didn't really go as planned, maybe it's just a bad game. We go Tuesday night, play against Hull away, not at the new stadium, at the Boothroyd Park, where it was like cold, wet, LDV Vans Trophy.
That was the hottest day ever in Hull.
Yeah, it probably was as well. So we went and played in that, and Ty Goodison, the right back, big Jamaican fullback, and I just remember he played me wide. I think he thought if we play him up top, he's just going to get smashed. He played me wide left, which used to happen to me my whole career, because people thought, he's small and he's quick, I'll put him on the wing. So he put me wide left. I remember getting the ball thinking, right, Saturday's a distant memory, let's go again. Got the ball, ran at the fullback, smash into the boards. I remember like picking myself up off the boards and thought, right, come on then, let's go again. Like, I'm in pain, but let's go again. Give me the ball, smash. Right, we'll go again. Half time, Webbs, you're off, son. I'm like, flipping it, is this right? So we go, yeah, it's isn't it? We go, I had a month's spell anyway. Long story short, it didn't go very well. At the end of it, which was like Boxing Day or something like that, was my last game, and I was thinking, just get me back to United. Brian Orton comes after the game. I didn't score a single goal in it, barely had a chance. Brian Orton says, look, spoken to Alec, as he called him. He says, he wants you to stay for another couple of months. Like, he said, we've agreed you can stay for another 2 months. He went, is that all right, son? And everything inside me, everything inside me, I'm going, no. And I thought, I've got to say yeah, because they've agreed it. And I just said no. He went, no. I said no. He went, why? I said, I'm just going to go back to United. And he just sort of like huffed and puffed and went, right, okay, son, and see you later. So I'm thinking, what do I do? I'm going into United next morning. Fergie's agreed for me to go on loan, to stay on loan. So first thing I do, I'm sat there eating my cornflakes in the morning, look up, boss has come in the canteen, try and keep my head down. Lads are over there, like dotted about having a breakfast. Gaffer comes in, he's like, Webber, God, heart's pounding, trying to be cool as anything. He said, I've just come off the phone with Brian. He said, we agreed for you to stay for 2 months. He said, 2 more months. He said, what are you doing back here? He said, I said, I just didn't want to stay. I didn't want to say, didn't like it, Gaffer. You know what I mean? Because you can't say that. He'd be like, you're soft. I said, just, yeah. So he just went, he said to me, he went, you know, why have you stayed there? I just went, thinking, in my head, it felt like about 10 minutes. What do I say? I just said, I think I can play higher than that, Gaffer. I've had the worst loan spell ever. I think I can play higher than that. And he looked at me and just went, you're right, son. And I thought, have I dodged the bullet here or what? You know, and he just walked off and gave me a little clip, walked off, and I thought, right, okay. Carried on now for a few months, started playing back in the resis again. At the end of that season, he pulled me again. He said, right, son, you're going on loan again. Okay, where am I going? Watford. Watford had just been relegated out of the Premier League. He said, I want you to go and learn off Vialli, Gianluca Vialli.
Oh, yeah, he was the gaffer at the time,
He was the manager at the time, yeah. So I had the last month of the season, 5 weeks, under him and Ray Wilkins. And my game probably came on in that month more than it came on in the previous year. We're just working under Luca. He was unbelievable. And
Ray Wilkins has got a good rep as well, hasn't he?
He was unreal. He'd do with them. He'd sort of get involved in the session at the beginning bit, and just he'd embarrass lads even because his quality was there, and he'd show lads. He'd do a demonstration. He'd say, right lads, I want you to do this, and he'd throw the ball down, and he'd just stick it in the top corner. Say, right lads, that's what I want you to do. And half the lads would be shanking it everywhere, and he wouldn't be able to. But he was different class, and what a gentleman as well. Absolute gold he was. But under Luca, I mean, you know, go back to talking about young lads working at the craft. Luca was like, right, we do this session, and he'd say, right, Danny, come in here now. I'll be tired. He said, you're tired. This is when we work. Like, right, okay. He said, because in games when you're tired, he said, you've got to be alert, you've got to be aware. So this is when we really concentrate, and this is when we work. So after lads would go in, and he pulled me and one or two others, and we'd work at our striker runs, how we gain your little advantages, and you know, it helped me so much. Scored my first couple of goals in professional football there, and I was gutted the season ended. But in fairness, we went to the Toulon tournament after that, and at least I got a few months more, another month out of football before the season, before the next season started. So the education part of it's key. You know, I tell youngsters this about Ollie. Like Ollie, absolute legend at the club. I used to sit and watch him on the bank at the Cliff, and he'd just finish left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And I used to think, why don't he chip it? Why don't he curl it? Why don't he show off? Because that's what you want, in my age, you entertain, you're showing off, you do. And I said to Ollie, why do you do that every day? Why don't you try and do that? And he said, well, when my chance comes, he said, it's like repetition. When it comes, bang, I just finish it, left foot, right foot, and I hit the corners.
Wasn't a bad finisher.
Different class, different class. And when you think of most people gutted when they're on the bench and they come on and they can come on with a bit of a sulk. He was just like, no, I'm part of the squad. This is what I do. This will be my role. Flipping that comes on in Champions League and does that, and that's born out of his repetition and his habits that he did every day. They were all like that, to be fair. Yorkie, Coley. I remember Coley and Scholes. He used to work with Keano at the Cliff, and it's those hours that you're putting in that make you a top class player or not.
Anytime I hear of a player doing extra stuff, it always pricks my ears up a little bit because I've never seen it fail. You always hear of someone putting in extra work and it takes their game to the next level. Yeah. And I've just thought of the title, Will, if you want to message Dom. I don't know the exact title, but we'll go with, let's talk about Marcus Rashford, because this is a guy that there's a lot of talk around at the moment. Yeah. And I'm really interested to see what you've got with your specific positioning. He's got a big international in front of him, a big record signing in front of him, up front in Lukaku. Almost similar sort of situation going on with Tony Marshall and Sanchez. There's a lot of calls for him to go out on loan, despite the fact he's played 120 odd games for Manchester United. From what I'm hearing, obviously chatting to his brothers and stuff, the guy's putting in extra work with McKenna. Everyone's happy, apart from the press.
He's all right. I mean, again, it's external forces, if you like, that want to bring something to light to unsettle what he's about. He's a top player. He's one thing I like about him. He's absorbent. He wants to learn.
What is he, 20?
He's 20.
You couldn't put him in that 23 team now.
No,
that'd be ridiculous.
It's not even. It's light years. It's light years.
But he was like an above average academy player, wasn't he?
I always thought he was top. From when I started to look at youth team football again, from when I stopped playing and started to change over into what I do now, he was probably the first player that made me go like him.
I did an article in 2015, and I said, because it was a class of 2016, I called it, and I said there's 5 players you're gonna have to look out for, and it was Marcus, and I think I said if he sorts his composure out, there's a finisher there. Because as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, his finishing wasn't there. He would go one-on-one so many times and hit it over the bar because that intensity that he plays with. He's really shown me up with his first few goals for the club as well, didn't he, big time? It was Gribbin, Gomez, Axel and Timbo. Yeah. And you're like, those was the players, but he wasn't, he was someone that you thought had potential, but he wasn't like consistently every week. Like you're looking at, let's talk about Mason. If you talk about Mason now, Mason is, perception-wise, levels above what people perceive Marcus, I think. But are we going to see him do 125 games in the next 3 years? Probably not. Probably not. Purely, I mean, timing has a lot to do with things as well. I don't think you would have seen Marcus have those games initially if he didn't just get his opportunity. If you asked him the week before... You ever seen anyone take an opportunity like that? And that's what I mean. I mean, if you asked him the week before, do you think you're going to play in the first team and then 2 years later have 120 games, or 3 years later have 120 games? Got the World Cup for England. And go to the Euros, then the World Cup. It would have been, that's what I'm working towards, but it wouldn't have been, I can see it happening right now. But opportunities open up, and then it's about how you take your opportunity. And that's as good as I've seen anybody take an opportunity since probably looking back to like Wes and people like that. Wes came on the scene and handled Hasselbank, and everyone went, oh my God, this kid is unreal. And before that, obviously, class of 92 and so on. But there's not many that have stepped onto the scene that I can think of that really come to the top of my head. Burst nowhere
onto the
like
scene
that.
and owned
nowhere
it.
Like that. I mean, you're talking about Tony Marshall not warming up properly. Pulls his hamstring. There you go. Time to go, kid. There you go. Yeah, cool. And then following it up, not resting on your laurels, following it up with 2 against Arsenal at home. I saw him on a Friday night. You've got to watch the team he's meant to be part of. He's put the under-18s at Altrincham on the Friday night. And I had a quick chat with him and I was like, was you nervous last night? And he was like, nah. Yeah. And it's not bravado, that's just Marcus. Everything he's done in his career since, he wasn't nervous. No, not at all. He just goes about his work. It's where he's at home. He's at home on the football pitch. He's at home in a Man United shirt. He always has been. He's comfortable. This is his environment and he wants to learn. It's not like he's his environment and he's just thinking, well, I've made it. He's not. He wants to learn. He wants to be the best. He's got a good structure around him. So for me, the talk of him leaving,
it's so premature. You know,
it's ridiculous.
You look at, if you want to compare top strikers, you know, Lukaku, you know, yes, he's our top striker now, but he had to find game time. He hadn't had this amount of games at 20 years old. You know, in the Premier League.
No, I don't think he did.
I don't think he had.
But because he made his debut at 16 as well, he did get a bit of a jump on him.
Fair play.
He's enormous, isn't it?
But the biggest example would be Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
I
think Henry's more suited. The same
style.
Like someone who plays on the left.
Exactly.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense that this guy's going to be someone that leads the line.
Yeah.
But the way you see Marcus working on his technical skills,
totally,
you can see it because
you remember
the flair's there. Everything's there.
You remember at Monaco, Trezeguet was the one. Everyone was like, he's through the middle, easy striker, and Henry played off him, pretty similar to the way Marcus now plays. And obviously, Henry goes to Juve, doesn't have a good time of it. Comes to Arsenal, missed a lot of chances when he first came. Then he just hit his groove. He found his finish. He's coming off the left-hand side. That finish was known as, Henry's finish had come in. And then confidence grows. All of a sudden, you're playing in a good side that's fluid going forward. And I just see Marcus going from strength to strength. I really do. His goal ratio is very similar to Henry's was at 20 years old. So
if people look at Alan Shearer, until he was 2021, wasn't finding the net on a consistent basis. I think the season before they won the league, or the season before that, he might have got 20 goals or something like that. Yeah. But he'd gone through some seasons scoring one as a striker.
It's part of your learning. It's part of your learning. You have to fail to a certain amount to understand, and it's how quickly you recover from your failures. And when I say fail, I mean go through barren spells. It's not failure. It's just learning. We'll go through barren spells, learn, get a bit of criticism where people go, he's gone off the boil. Remember Giggsy? Giggsy had a spell. And people used to go, flipping out Giggsy. Flipping it. He's our best player, along with Scholesy for me. Most consistent, most games, you know. But there's a spell where people were writing Giggsy off.
I remember 2007, I think Nanny'd come on for him. And I had Jaden on my knee watching the match.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think he's just played his last game for United in 2007.
Giggsy.
6 years later, still, and he was in his last game. He was arguably our best player. Yeah. The whole ground trying to will him into scoring. With Marcus then, and also Mason, because I think it's all valid. Do you think they need somebody like a Thierry Henry? Do you think they need someone that's, as we said earlier, like what Collymore had with Brighton, right, and what maybe you had watching Solskjaer and stuff like that? I don't know what Romelu's like in training. I don't know if he's someone that's open to working with these younger lads to try and bring them on, or if there's someone it's a coach's responsibility. Do you think that's, as you said yourself, working with Luca was something that took you to the next level? Do you think that's something that we do need at United then? Someone that's going to work with these strikers exactly? I mean, what's Yorkie doing?
I think, Yorkie would be a different class. I think you do need, especially as a striker, because you have to create and it's all about your little margins, how you get your shot away and all that kind of thing.
It's just as specialist as a goalkeeping coach.
Yeah.
And we have those.
Of course it is. I mean, I know Michael Carrick's been helping Romelu with his game and he's been staying behind and doing stuff with him. So
I know Kieran's been doing the same with Marcus.
With Marcus and Mason at times, especially last year. I just wouldn't, I'd say that you do need somebody who knows that position inside out, who can help with the movement, help with the little intricacies that get you your extras. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to identify who could possibly be that person, but you definitely will benefit. You know, Kiddo did it with Yorkie, and with Coley when he first came to the club, and Scholesy, and you see him just working little angles around the box.
And this was something Rennie worked on with the likes of Ronaldo and Rooney and stuff, like finishing from different areas of the box to hone those skills of doing that. There's not a lot coming out of Jose's regime in terms of who's doing what, is there? I think that's where outsiders looking in, we're a bit like, I think
it's very close. It's very close shop. You know, it's not very apparent outside the club as to who works on what every day. It's just, this is my coaching staff. And it's just a totally different way of working. It was similar at Chelsea. He keeps a very close shop, and I don't mind. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary stick.
Without a doubt. I think a lot of fans, the way they talk, think that he just tells you what the opposition's going to do and then that's it. I think that people don't think we don't work on technical stuff, which we obviously do.
Of course we do. But bottom line is, I look at it, when you put it in context and the emotions out of like game day, and it's, when everybody's high or low off the result, he's coming to a club that's massively in transition. Massively. We've come off the back of Moyes, who for want of a better word, sabotaged what was there in there, what was good, all what was good about United then. Van Gaal came in and sort of said, okay, with all due respect to what he'd done before, 3 months you'll see my philosophy, and it took a long while for us to even see that, and we regressed on the football pitch. He seemed like a great guy around the building and everybody liked him, but ultimately that's not what you're being paid for. You want to see top class football. And then you've got all these different people's signings. You've got people who've left the club and this is the key for me, the people who've left the club who've got the United DNA, so it's carried on for years and years. That's people who've signed, your Rios, your Everers, your Fletchers, your O'Shea, everybody along the time. Ashley Young's the only one now who's holding it, and Carrick obviously signed in the position he's in. It's that DNA that when nothing's broken, just continue it, advance it if you can. If you've got a little tweak you want to do and you think that would help, then that's fine.
Did Liverpool come up? Did Liverpool struggle with that, because they sort of tried to keep that going with their boot room thing, didn't they? And that's why Roy Evans ended up getting the first team coaching role. Ultimately, it led to nothing for them, did it?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it just didn't work for them in that instance, but it would work in other instances. But on the face of it, it makes sense to keep a lot of this around. Yeah. But at the same time, I think you've also got to allow Jose to be Jose. And if you're making him the manager, you've got to back the manager's decisions and everything. You can't start, for want of a better word, picking his team for him. That's why you paid a guy the big bucks.
And I think had Jose have come in straight after Sir Alex, we'd have seen a totally different
I think
scenario.
He wins the league again.
Yeah, and that's what you're working with.
And I don't know if that would have... I think he would have got the best out of... Cause someone mentioned Rio Ferdinand didn't play 5-6 games consecutively under Fergie for a while. The first 6 games of the Moyes season, Rio.
Yeah.
I think Jose, used to working with older players a fair bit. I think he probably would have been more sympathetic to... Because I think at the time Van Persie as well did his own training under Sir Alex, didn't miss a game.
There you go.
Wasn't exactly great under David Moyes, because Moyes was like, no, it's military style, everyone trains together kind of thing. And I think that Jose probably would have been more sympathetic to that style of management, I think, without any evidence. I think he would have.
I think he would have as well. He would have come in, and the characters that were there at the time, you're talking your Rio, your Vidic, your Everers and people like that, they gain a level of respect just by coming in the building, and as people, you get that level of respect. And I just think that Moyes didn't show the level of respect to those people and the club that warranted it.
Imagine telling Rio Ferdinand to watch videos of anybody else.
That's what I mean. Steve McLaren, prime example. As a manager, not been the most successful, but as a coach, he came into the club when United was successful. He didn't come in and say, "Tell you what, Ryan, you need to do this." His words were, "I can't improve you guys as players. All I can try and do is maintain your level." So you respect that ultimately straight away. You're going, well, he's not going to come in and say, "Listen, Ryan, I don't like the way you're kicking it with your left foot. Do this and that." Listen, you're one of the most creative people that's ever put on the United shirt, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to try and make sure that your levels are, and I produce a session that is of the level that can keep you high. And when you take out Rene, you take out McPhelan. I know at the same time Sir Alex leaves and David Gill leaves, and all of a sudden the structure is strained. And then you've got the characters that were in the building, that the dressing room ran itself. The dressing room ran itself with the characters, and then you take all that out of it, and you're managing Man United that's under huge scrutiny. You're in trouble.
I think Roy Keane gets a lot of stick for. He seems like he's top 3 grumpiest men the world's ever seen. Yeah. But a lot of what he did was about maintaining standards.
100%.
You must have had training sessions with Roy Keane and seen that up close.
Yeah.
He was the keeper of the standards at the club. That was his role as captain, wasn't it?
And I think ultimately, amidst people would say, is that angry and all this kind of thing, it was about, no, there's no grey area. You're either in it or you're not in it. Your standards are there or they're not. And if you've hit that standard, then maintain the standard. Many days I can think of.
On the face of things, Cristiano Ronaldo and Roy Keane would never get on. But you never heard of a falling out between those two, because Cristiano's personal professionalism was always extremely high.
He's pushing his own barriers every single day. So when somebody's maximising themselves, you go, fair enough. Keano openly said that if you're picking anyone in training, he'd pick Quinton Fortune on his team. Look at him. Look at the array of talent that was in that.
That was a mentality thing as well.
Mentality, yeah. The way Quinny worked every single day. Quinny was unfortunate because he had knee injuries and so on, but it's that mentality that when you see somebody who in any industry or anywhere that's getting the most out of themselves or doing the best for themselves, you go, I'll take that. As opposed to somebody who's got the ability, turns it on as and when they want to. You know, you don't do what those guys did. You know, I'll be the first to say, like, there was days where I probably got to about 19, 20, and was earning semi-decent money. There was days
Semi-decent.
Where, you know, semi-decent money. There'd be days where how can I put it? You know, I own my own house. You'd go where you'd been religious about going to bed at 10 o'clock and all that sort of thing and getting your food right. I'd nick a few hours. I'd go out on a little date, or I'd nick, you know, or whatever it is. And you think nobody's watching, but really your conscience is there, and you know that people are watching. I remember getting fined. We were at the Cliff, and I got fined for not even being somewhere. And I was like, hold on a minute, it wasn't me. But Sir Alex had heard that I'd been somewhere. It wasn't me. And I managed to get proof that it wasn't me in the end. But just to say that people are watching, but you think in your mind at that age that nobody's watching. But it's all about your standards and your habits and what you do every single day. And if you can't nick days, I nicked a few days towards the end of it, and I was okay. I got offered a new contract, but I sometimes think, with no regret, I wonder if I'd have just religiously continued in the way that I'd had up till about 18. But distractions kick in, and that was the one thing Sir Alex said at 14: sacrifice, son. You got to sacrifice. You know, when your mates are going out, when you're drinking, all the distractions that come into play, you've got to say no and just continue on that. You know, sing that with that tunnel vision. And I think ultimately, you know, I'm massively grateful for my upbringing at United. I think it's, you know, couldn't have had not just as a player but as a person. And then when I tried to take that into other clubs, so I went to Watford, great, because Vialli would do the extra with me, Ray Lewington would do the extra. Managed to get a move then to Sheffield United. And then I remember the first day at Sheffield United, and I've got this mentality of doing extra, doing well, scoring goals. I go to Sheffield United, and the first day, Neil Warnock was shouting from the window, Webber, get off the effing pitch. I'm like, what? He said, if you get injured, and he operated like, if I got injured and he just bought me, then I'd get fined a couple of weeks' wages. So I got out of the habit of doing extras.
He's a bit of a character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a character. You know what? I nearly didn't sign for him. And I didn't answer the phone to him for 2 or 3 days when I knew he wanted to sign me, because I played against his teams and I thought, there's no way I'm playing for that guy. But he pestered me. And he left a voicemail on my phone. He just said, listen, son, he said, I'm not as bad as everybody makes out. Just come and meet me at least. So I went, right, okay. I went and sat with him in the dugout at Bramall Lane, and we just spoke for an hour, and I realised amidst all the noise, if you like, he's a passionate man. He wanted to win. He badly wanted to get Sheffield United back to the Premier League, and ultimately that was the journey I wanted to get back on, having left United. And I think you know, we managed to achieve that together, and I've got massive respect for him. He's a winner, and you can see that he wins a championship nearly every other season.
He's good at that, but there's something about him just not able to stick around in the Prem, is he?
I think he knows it as well. Well, he openly said it in an interview a few weeks back. She said, you know, you seem, the woman said to him, you seem very relaxed about Cardiff.
Get sacked in a few weeks.
Well, that's what he said. He said, if I get sacked, he said, I'll go to the Championship, get another team promoted. Do you know what I mean? So he knows where his level lies, and he's provocative and cheeky where he needs to be.
So United never managed to, for all of what Fergie brought through, which was pretty spectacular, they never brought a striker through. Marcus is like the first striker since Whiteside, could you say? Mark Hughes, that we've managed to bring through.
Welbeck.
It didn't stick around, did it? I don't know how many games Welbeck ended up with. I mean, he obviously becoming an England international on the back of it. But what do you think that the reason behind that was? Do you think it's just too much pressure as a striker?
I think it's such a specialist position, and it really is such a specialist position.
Because arguably goalkeeper is very similar as well. There's not enough opportunity to get in there, is there?
We didn't really bring many goalkeepers through either that sustained that position. It's such a specialist position, a striker, that you need people who are going to guarantee your goals, and you don't really have time to wait. You don't really have time to wait for somebody to come in. You know, if I'd have gone in the first team and did what Marcus had done, it'd be a different outcome to a certain extent. How long you stay is then down to you. You know, I came to the first team and get my chance, gets tipped over the bar. Such is life. And then you get another few opportunities.
Those are the margins, aren't they?
And they are
those
the margins.
Are the margins.
They are. If that header goes in, then all of a sudden it's a totally different headline the next morning, and people go, "Oh, he took his chance." and that's how close it actually is.
Or you can come in and you can do what Makeda did, and then massively fall off a cliff.
Of course you can, and that's what I mean. So, you know, you come in and you make an entrance, but you can't just make an entrance at Man United. It doesn't give you a career.
What you got to do for me today sort of mentality, which is what we're seeing with Marcus at the moment. A lot of people really going down on the guy. I mean, 12 months ago there was comparisons with him and Mbappe and Gabriel Jesus, and now he has to go on loan to Everton all of a sudden. And no. I don't think he'd have had anywhere near the career if he'd have been at Everton. I mean, Everton aren't even playing their own youngsters, so
it's not realistic for any young player to come into a first team, and you know they are the exceptions, your Rooney's, Mbappe's, people like that. But it's not realistic for many young players to come in at a top club playing Champions League football and everything to week in, week out just deliver the goods, because you're learning about yourself as well. You're learning about, but you're having to do it in the spotlight. And there's nothing wrong with that. You get well paid for it, and you're also, you want that. That's what you've worked for. But you've got to cut a bit of slack sometimes, as when you're watching. So Alex used to take people out of the team. He'd just say, right, pull you out of the limelight for 2 minutes, and then you'd go again. And he did it with everybody. If you look through the years, and people say he's a master at it, but he understood. You'll burn people out, and also from an expectation point of view, it keeps you hungry, but other people's expectation goes, okay, he's back out again. And he was just managing expectation all the time. So with Marcus, I want to see him being United's, he's number 10 now, but I'd love to see him be United's striker for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be happier, apart from himself, arguably, if he breaks Rooney's record. Because that means not only has he been successful, he's going to have done a full career to get anywhere near it. Yeah. So, it'd be fun. And, being a local lad, that'd be mega, wouldn't it? Mason. Yeah. This is a special talent that we've got on our hands here with Mason. Yeah. Where's he going?
You know what? For me, I've not been as excited about anybody as I am about him. Without wanting to boost him up to levels, but he's got everything. He plays, especially in this day and age where you can come through an academy and become an academy product. And when I say that, I mean you can be, a lot of your difference can be edited out of you. Yeah,
your ragged edge, your almost what makes you a winner.
Yeah, totally. What makes you a winner, but makes you your own individual. That's why we end up going and buying strikers from South America and places like that, because they're allowed to be who they are. He brings his character to the pitch, but he has end product with that as well.
Dead miserable, isn't it, Soz?
He's what?
He's like miserable. He's like It's almost like he's Keano levels of expectation about himself. You don't see the guy smile on a pitch. It's all business, isn't it?
He's about his business. He's sure of himself. Right foot, left foot, and he's recently converted to a striker because he used to play attacking midfielder. So playing him through the middle, as Kieran did last year in the 18s, he's having to learn a different side to the game, which he is doing. He scored a goal last week. I think it was his third goal in the academy for his hat-trick. And he spun in and made a real striker's run. And I thought, like that. So you can see him, he absorbs everything. You put him around good players, he'll absorb it. You put him around, give him good coaching, he'll absorb it. And that's the beauty of somebody like him. At that age, you've got to keep challenging them. For me, he's got to get in the 23s now and play.
Does he though? Top. With how vanilla the 23s football is it not better to keep pushing him to, I want 3s and 4s off you every single week. I want you to be an absolute mare to these 18s. European Youth League.
I think he's playing the European Youth League. But I think he did the 18s last year, and when you're a youngster with that mindset, you're like
17 last year with it, yeah.
He's like, well, I've done that. What's next? He's gone away with the first team. He's gone and played in the 20s tournament, and got player of the tournament at the end of last season. The 18s to him is like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I'll show you I'll do it, but what's next? And that challenge is what keeps you progressing. It keeps you getting better and better and better. And I just think but as far as the talent goes, top talent.
I think physically as well, the thing that he's got, because I put Angel on in terms of football brain, ability, everything that kid can do with the ball is godlike. Yeah. I think physicality-wise, especially in Jose Mourinho's side, I think that Mason could overtake him just because he's bigger. And I think because he's bigger, probably more suited to playing that first team football, he might leapfrog Angel on that alone, much like what Jesse did. His development might be a bit later. It might be 22, it might be 23. It might need a loan over to the continent somewhere where he can really express himself. I think you put Angel in the Portuguese league, they're going to be claiming Ballon d'Or stuff from him, I think, because he'll have so much time on the ball.
Frightening talent,
I'm really, really excited for what happens with Mason. Think there's any chance we see him even coming off the bench in the EFL Cup or anything like that?
Possibly.
It was a bit of a shock they went on the tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, possibly, because you do have to keep your best players challenged. You do have to dangle a carrot.
He's also going to be signing his first pro deal like 3 weeks' time. So what a carrot that is.
Yeah.
Sign your deal, you'd be on the bench for the EFL game, or we'll give you a debut. That happens a lot, doesn't it?
It can do, depending on what club you're at. And United try and do it more based on achievement. You've got to earn your way. There's not really a contract in a game, but it happens of course, it happens in other places. But for me, I just think, without getting carried away, you've got to keep his feet on the floor, work at his craft. Really important. He's got a good structure around him as well. He's Bradford lad. His dad and his granddad are around him. Got to make sure that he just maximises himself, but enjoy it. And that's one of the things that goes amiss sometimes. Everybody's so intense about what they've got to do and how it's got to be. You know what? Enjoy yourself. You're in a position that millions and millions of other people would love to be. If he makes one appearance for Man United's first team, that's more than billions of people on the planet. Millions would want to do. So understand where you are. Enjoy yourself, like Marcus. When your chance comes, take it. Play like you're playing in the streets.
And on that note, I think we'll call it a day. Go and give Danny a follow on Twitter. He's just joined Instagram as well, so he's posting everything. Actually, it's pretty annoying. So, but you post your entire life on there at the moment. Aren't you just catching up?
A few old schools, yeah. I've just got to build some content. Do you know what I mean?
All right, Danny. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers,
nice
mate.
one. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here, and remember, all of these podcasts are available on audio as well. The link is in the description below. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Laters.